I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's roll.
We're talking this afternoon with Rebecca Sharp, who's a candidate, a nonpartisan candidate for the Florida House District 17 seat.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity
Thank
to be
you
here.
for driving down from Ponte Vedra.
Yes.
Okay. Normally, if you don't mind, we just like to start out with something real formal, and you tell us who you are, and from there, if you'll just roll into why you are sitting in that chair right now.
Well, as you said, my name is Rebecca Sharp, and I'm running for Florida House. And I have a PhD, a master's, a bachelor's, 2 AAs, and 2 AS degrees. My PhD, master's, and bachelor's in theology. And so, not surprisingly, I put God first in my life, and of course, family. And as a citizen of St. Johns County, I'm running because I'd like to see some positive changes in St. Johns County that I think are overdue and very much needed, as well environmental changes and certainly some changes in our education system. And basically, I'm just citizen, constitutionalist, like to defend our Constitution and make sure the rule of law and due process is upheld and, again, better the community.
The changes, can you prioritize, say, 3 the biggest things that you think you can make a difference in, or that you would want to try in?
Absolutely. Water. And these aren't any particular. The St. Johns River has badly been neglected, and we have a lot of rivers in St. Johns County that are actually condemned by the EPA. And I would like to get that changed, and I think it's hindering the growth of businesses actually coming to St. Johns County. Back in 2011, a bill was passed, it was HB 993, that shifted the burden of proof from the developers having to provide an environmental impact report to the communities over to the citizens and over to the taxpayers and over to any organizations that were interested in knowing what environmental impact would be made in the county. And I'd like to see that repealed, actually. I really would. And I believe that St. Johns County is in need of it, like an industrial complex or something business-wise to attract more business here, to bring more money to the tax base. And I think the water, though, is number one. We need portable water, and we're looking at a very serious problem if we don't fix it. And so, I was asked by the Times Union if I was in favor of having the St. Johns River deepened. And I say yes to that only if we take care of what we neglected for the last 10, 12 years. Otherwise, we're just going to deepen the problems we already have.
Are you talking about deepening it when they're talking about dredging up around Mayport for the bigger boats to get in? Okay, not the river.
Right.
And stuff down there. Okay.
But still, that's going to create problems here.
Yeah. Are you interested in these issues about Seminole County and Orange County and Ray drawing down
yes,
on the St. Johns River?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a very big concern of mine.
Okay.
I don't want to see Orlando. I'm actually liking this to Lake Mead in Vegas, and having the town of Las Vegas drain the lake, and now they're looking for other water resources. And we're just not being responsible with our water. We're just not. And it's a very precious, precious commodity. And we obviously need to have drinking water and healthy water. So education is up there next to water, because if we don't have educated children in our whole society, just not in St. Johns County, but Common Core is a big issue for me. I'd like to see that repealed. I believe we need to teach our kids to critically think. I also believe that education is best suited at the state and local level, and certainly with the parents. I think parents, especially in St. Johns County, and I say that because I've checked the demographics, and we're more educated in St. Johns County than other counties, the local counties, and I pride myself in that, in education. And because of that, if we're not educating our children and teaching them to critically think, and whatever college they choose to go to, hopefully they come back to St. Johns County. But what is it they're going to come back to? Are we going to have jobs, available with their degree level that has them coming back?
You're talking about education, so St. John's School District is the #1 in the state and has been for 6 years.
Absolutely.
So What do we need to fix?
It won't be once Common Core is put in,
Okay.
and it's being implemented. Of course, it's number one. I want to keep it that way.
So did you have a number 3? We got the water in the schools.
The repealing Common Core.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not in with education.
Well, I had that as a sub-bullet.
Okay.
Because education was her number 2.
And of course, lowering taxes. Taxes are going up and up and up and up. And especially, I understand I don't only represent St. Johns County, but I represent the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And the decisions that are made impact the whole state. And the taxes, I've been watching the legislature pass bills for the last 6 years that really have a huge impact on St. Johns County as well as the rest of the state, including the recent Florida hurricane assessment tax that's put on our car insurance bills. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but look, pull out your car insurance bill, whether it's Geico, State Farm, whoever you have, you'll see a 1.3% Florida hurricane assessment fund tax. Well, that's just a tax. It says a hurricane assessment fund. It's a tax. And on my bill, it's $4.11, and it's 1.3 now, and it's slated, it's already been passed. It's slated to go up to 5% in 2014 and 10.2% in 2016. It's a tax. It's going to the state. It's a FEMA fund. If we have a hurricane in the state of Florida, we look to the federal FEMA. They're collecting $17 billion off of car insurance policies for a hurricane tax. I find that appalling as a citizen. I find it absolutely appalling. And what I find it more appalling is there was a certain class that were exempted out of having to pay that tax, and it was the doctors. All medical malpractice insurance policies were exempted from that tax. Not only is that appalling enough, that specific tax that they were exempted out of is put into our tax, our 1.3%, the 5%, and the 10.2%. So there's a lot of issues on taxes. I'd like to see the universal connectivity charge that's on our communication bills to be actually opted out. I believe it's a charity. It goes to free phones. And I believe if we'd like to give a senior citizen or somebody that's in need of a free phone, that we as free individuals have the right to do that and opt out if we choose not to. So just a lot of taxes. There's been a lot of taxes put in, and it again affects St. Johns County as well as the whole state of Florida. I could go on and on with the taxes. You and I could be here for a week on the bills that have passed in the last 3 years that have increased our taxes, and it snuck in to our lives unbeknownst to us. We just go, hey, wait a minute, there's not enough money at the end of the month. Where's it going?
Have you served on any county, city, or any other kind of boards at all?
I did when I was down in Bradenton, Manatee. I actually sat with Senator Pat Neal, and I helped get him elected. And I was very active politically down in Sarasota and Bradenton, active with Judge Nellon's judgeship and Judge Becky Titus' judgeship in getting them elected. And I worked here in Jacksonville Beach helping Plan Sharp get elected.
You're on the ballot as MPA. And I hope you don't take this, but you sound like a card-carrying libertarian. Is that off?
Yes, it is.
Do you think so?
Absolutely,
I'm sorry.
it's off.
I don't know. I wasn't meaning that sarcastically. It's just that's.
I am a liberty-minded person. I wouldn't go as far as to say libertarian. If I was libertarian, I'd be registered as a libertarian. Okay. I'm registered as an MPA and no party affiliation. I really pride myself in being a Republican, believe it or not. But I'm maybe old school Republican, but I don't understand liberty not being in a Republican platform. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm coming from, with my constitutional. I was Madam Chair of Republican Liberty Caucus. Did a fine job. He was there then. Did a fine job with that organization. So, I really do see myself as an old school Republican.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about your opponent and the Thrasher situation and all that stuff? Do you have comments on the race and where he's going to end up, or does that change what you do? Or
no.
But you must have some sort of.
Absolutely has no change. I ran against Ronald Reniewart in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I garnered 27% of the vote. I'm running for the same reason today as ran then. And it had nothing to do with where he was going or where Thrasher was going or anything else. I'm not in this as a politician. I'm in this as a patriot. I'm in this as a citizen. I have the background. I have the education. One of my degrees is in accounting. My last full-time corporate position was with Cooper's Librarian, Price Waterhouse Cooper's Librarian, corporate headquarters in Tampa. I audited budgets as big as the Florida budget and some bigger. So I have the experience and I have the education and the background to do the house and the job, the job and the house. And I say that with utmost conviction. And that's what I want to do, is I want to go to the house and get to work. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a politician. I don't particularly care to be videotaped, and I don't even have my picture on my magnets on my car. It's not about me. This is about the people, and I'm here about that. I'm here to be a public servant, to really do public servant work, and that's my commitment to running for House. I understand the position with Thrasher. He's on as FSU as president. I'm not sure somebody had a party for him leaving the Senate, and it's my understanding that he's going to give that seat or groom Dr. Ewart for that seat, the information I've been given. But that's really not my concern. It's none of my, no. I'm concerned about the citizens of St. Johns County and what's happening up in the House. The other thing that I'm very proud of is that in one of my many trips to the House and the Senate, and sitting in on committee meetings, Judiciary Committee meeting, House Committee, all of them, crime, I've sat in on all of them. As a citizen, I had no intention of running when I started doing this. I just wanted to see what was going on at my house, because I consider it's just myflorida.gov. I consider it my house. So I started making trips up there, and one of the things in 2012 was February 12th, I believe, or 16th, 2012. I sat in on a Judiciary Committee meeting where the House of Representatives introduced and passed immunity bill. It was HB 728, I think it was, or 793. I can't remember exactly the number now. But you can look it up. You can just Google it. It was called immunity bill. And I was appalled because they voted on giving themselves absolute immunity to the law. Absolute immunity to the law. And not just current legislators, but past legislators. Not only them, but their staff and their past legislative staff. And it survived them in perpetuity. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I believe we need to all follow the same laws. I don't believe we need immunity. And then I discovered after that, partially why, and it did pass, 13 yeas and 5 nays, and I was able to come home and get on the phone to my media contacts, and by Monday they did kill it and pull it. So I'm very proud of that, because I was screaming to bloody, I can't believe it. So that's the kind of things that, that's the kind of reason why I'm going. I want to bring fiscal responsibility back. I want to bring a better, higher, I think we as legislators should be held to a higher standard of law. We're up there, we're writing laws, we know what the laws are, not immunity, a higher standard. We should be setting the example. There was only like 2 or 3 people on the board, there was 2 actually, that tried to file an amendment that said the sunshine laws were sufficient and our constituents rely on us to follow that, and I don't think this law is necessary. And despite that fact, it was passed anyways. And I was very disappointed in the vote. I was very disappointed when I came home. And again, that was why I did what I did, and happy to have that bill killed. And they said in the press that they would come back later and look at it again another time. And then the following week, it came out that the Democrats were going to sue the Republicans over the redistricting map, which is why they were looking for immunity. They didn't want to have to sit for the depositions, and they didn't want to go and testify in court on that situation. So I've been very committed. I've been working for the people, especially in St. Johns County and in Florida for a long time for no pay, and that's fine.
So if you get in the House, you can do it for almost no pay. Exactly,
$21,000. That's when I retired from the corporate world from Price Waterhouse in I think it was 88. I was making $35,000 a year, so I'm taking a pay cut. Mm-hmm. But I also understand it's part-time, but I can't imagine me being there part-time. I'm actually working part-time. I know I'm going to work full-time, even though whether we're in session or not.
Now,
Please don't forget Wells Fargo, Ms. Sharp.
Huh?
Please don't forget to tell them about Wells Fargo.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was going to ask you, are you currently working now?
I'm actually an advanced structural rehab specialist, and what I do is go into people's homes and rehab their bodies.
Oh, nice.
I have one of my degrees is in nursing, and I also graduated from the Southeastern School in neuromuscular massage,
Okay.
and then advanced myself up into the advanced structural rehab specialist category. So I have a nursing background, I have an accounting background, I have a business background, and I have a computer background.
If elected, since you have a heavy Republican background, if elected, will you remain not an NPA, or will you
That's a
switch back
good.
to a Republican?
That is an excellent question, and nobody's asked me that. Quite frankly, I have to think about it. I'll have to see about the. Would like to become a Republican, but right now, the Republicans up in D.C. are disappointing me on a daily basis. So I'm still in my heart a Republican. I always will be.
Good.
I have one. Okay. This sounds funny, but it's kind of a. I'm not making fun of anything at all, but the medical marijuana thing. I was wondering where you stood on that, and then I was looking at your the hemp industrial.
Hemp for
thing.
water is awesome.
So I know it was just. I was going to ask you one question, and the other one popped up, but you can go at either one of them if you want to. Where do you stand on the medical marijuana?
Medical marijuana.
As a nurse.
As a nurse and as a citizen, absolutely yes, as long as it's regulated properly. The current amendment absolutely has some loopholes in it that needs to be fixed. And there's already some legislature written to fix it if it does pass, which is awesome. And I've read the pending legislation. Bill Wolfsire, who's running for Attorney General, he and I are friends, and he already has those loopholes, some excellent legislative verbiage to fix those loopholes. And also he's working on an excellent program called Hemp for Water, and it is going to clean and purify the water. So I don't want to get too far off on that, but that's his baby, and you can look that up anytime you want to, but I'm totally an advocate for that. Recreational use of marijuana, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
How do
Absolutely
you
not.
get water from him?
Look it up.
Okay.
I'm urging you to look it up because I really want you to look it up. If I tell you, then you won't look it up. It's so much more than I can tell you, so I really want you to be excited about it when you see what it is. And it's going to bring so much money to the state and so many new jobs. It's going to create new... Have you seen the car that's made out of hemp? Awesome. I went down to the hemp house. There's actually a house made of hemp. I mean, hemp is a plant. I don't know how many of you know this, but the Constitution was written on hemp paper. That's amazing. Our founding fathers knew the quality and knew the value of hemp, and they used it for all kinds of wonderful things. And the fact that we've gotten it thrown into the drug war, let's use that hemp for the product that it is. We can reduce cutting trees, we can help our water, help our environment, make a lot of money, be in the black, just by saying yes to number 2. I'm very excited about it.
Yes to what?
Amendment number 2.
Okay.
And then on the medical side, I had a personal experience here in Jacksonville. A very good friend of mine, his name is Randy, I won't mention his last name, but he worked for 30 years over at the paper plant, and 6'2", looked like if you looked at him, he looked like he weighed maybe 120. 6'2". And I said to him, Randy, don't you eat? Yeah, I eat, but I can't eat. Oh, okay. After a while, getting to know him, I found out that he would smoke marijuana so he could eat. And he confided in me that if he couldn't do that, he'd probably have died. Because he just, even with smoking it, he can't keep his body weight up. Well, unfortunately, somebody overheard that he worked with. The guy went back and ratted him out at work. They gave him a drug test. He failed, lost his job after 30 years of service. That is ridiculous. The guy was never late, never had a problem at work. He didn't smoke it to get stoned. He smoked it because it upped his appetite. And he only did it right before he ate so he could eat. So that's the kind of thing that I think is a tragedy. And I know I also know the cannabis oil in terms of shrinking cancer tumors, and all the other wonderful benefits of medical cannabis. So, you know, having personal experience with it, having nursing background and chemistry background, understanding the need to obviously cure cancer and some other things, ALS and so many other things. I'm definitely a proponent for amendment number 2.
Being that we're in a coastal area, property insurance has been a hot topic for many years. And I know it's something they've worked on frequently in Tallahassee. Do you have any opinions on how that is working for the homeowners and the citizens, and how that, of course, equates to Citizens, which is the state insurance?
Another great question. I appreciate you asking me that. First of all, when the federal administration changed the flood maps, that's what caused the increase for flood insurance across the United States, not just in Florida. And I don't think there's enough being done in the states to fix the maps, reduce it, find a way around it, because it's ridiculous. It's just another way to tax people. People can't afford a home now. Flood insurance now is more expensive than hazard insurance. And that's just unbelievable. It needs to be based, in my opinion, the way it used to be, on incidents. If you have a hurricane, then your insurance goes up. If you're on a piece of property and it floods, your insurance goes up. I don't believe in this. Everybody needs to pay for everybody else's irresponsibility or choice to live in the floodplains and keep rebuilding on the same property. So that's where I would like to see it get back to. And that's what I would strive to do in the House, is create legislature to hit that smack right on.
And isn't Citizens really the culprit in what you were talking about at the beginning, that added tax to the car bills? I mean, that's really to pay for the subsidies that Citizens is giving people.
No.
Okay.
No, it isn't, unfortunately. My opponent, Ronald Renuart, is the one who co-sponsored that bill. And it has nothing to do with, as a matter of fact, the bill, if you read it, I believe it's 1055, it actually put Citizens off the hook for claims, and the bill itself says they're never going to pay out a claim. But Citizens had to find alternate emergency insurance for Citizens itself. And then once they did that and they bought bonds, then they were able to give back a credit to Citizens policy holders. But that credit is coming back full swing, 3 times amount going to the state. Instead of giving it to Citizens, now we're giving it to the state FEMA fund. Please read the bill. You will be like, oh. I keep forgetting I'm being videotaped. I'm making all these faces. I'm just passionate about the topics.
So one of your Renard issues is healthcare, Medicaid consumers, and being a third of the Florida state budget. Would you like to discuss your position on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Then one of the pieces of information that you gave us about your opponent's position regarding healthcare and Medicaid consumers as a third of Florida state budget, Doc believes that in order to be most efficient with the funds that we have available, we must remain committed to looking for ways to reduce costs while maintaining critical core services.
Yes.
Do you have an opposing position on that?
I have a solution.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Does the solution sound good?
Yeah.
There's actually a program, and I don't have the name with me. I left it in my house, unfortunately. But it's a medical association that's working across the United States, and it's a wonderful program. And I'm actually talked to them on the phone 3 times about bringing it to Florida. And what they do is they cut out the middleman, no federal government, no HICFA, no pharmaceutical, everybody cut out of the middle, and they sell memberships to their hospital and and they have specialties, just like neurosurgeon, podiatrist, all the specialties. They pay $100 a month if they're 55 to 70. They pay $75 a month if they're 40 to 6, whatever that gap is, and then the kids are 20 a month. And they have enough money coming in. They can come to your house, come to your work. They encourage mental health care as just another ailment that we have with no stigma on it, which I love. And they will go anywhere. It's like the olden days where we used to go into the doctors and they come to your house and you give them $20 and they give you everything you need and they do all your checks and they refer you out. And because they bypass that, they also bypass the big pharma. And they've been able to, on just this one example, a lady had a prescription for, what's that purple pill, Nexium, and it was $155 a month, and she actually go to the clinic and get it for $1.55 a month supply. So I find that a very viable solution. And again, taking some of the money that we need to fill in those gaps in those places where we do have some people that are homeless and psychotic and have some real mental health issues that are just falling in the gaps. People that don't even get out of their house. You see them maybe walking down the street with a buggy or something. So I also have a solution for that.
Something that's interests me. You haven't raised any campaign funds at all. Is that correct?
I raised some campaign money.
Okay. Is it?
Not a lot.
Is it on your? Yeah.
A little bit.
No, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it just an idea that you weren't going to really attempt it, or has it been tougher than you think? I mean, it's just odd to me to see campaign finances.
I'm financing my own campaign because I'm for the people. I don't want to take special. I've been offered a special interest money, but I've refused it.
Do you have any goals or things that you want to accomplish if you're elected to this position in the first year or so of your term? Any specifics you'd like to share with us?
Goals specifically, yes. I would like to be on a appropriation committee. I would like to be a Florida delegate. In the event there is a constitutional amendment change, I'm one of those 38, I think it's 38, 35 or 38. And I'd also like to be on the Judiciary Committee and get some things done in terms of the rule of law. Actually, when Charlie Crist was governor, I don't know if people don't remember or whatever, I mean, he's running for governor again, but his last act of defiance, in my opinion, was he took his executive pen to the judicial branch in that foreclosures at that point were at all-time high. And because they were, and there was so much money being funneled in the judicial system, he not only changed the filing fee from $200, he changed it to a percentage. So it's the minimum is $900, the maximum, it depends on the amount of the note, up to $3,500 for a filing fee to file a foreclosure. Well, okay, but then he said that money's going over to the general fund. There was a little bit of news about that. I think you guys ran a story about it because at that time Alex Sink was running and the attorneys were up in arms about those fees going over to the general fund instead of them staying in with the judiciary budget. And I was one of those people that was against what he did. I don't mind the banks paying more to file a case, don't get me wrong. The problem I have with it is shifting that money over to the general fund, because then subsequently there wasn't enough money coming into the judicial branch to fund the judicial branch. And now our judicial branch is borrowing money from the legislative branch and begging money from Rick Scott, and they're loaning it to the judicial branch and charging them interest on it. And if they had just left that money funneling into the judicial branch, they'd have been fine. And subsequently, because the judges are relying on the money coming from the legislative branch to fund it, they are under scrutiny to do what the legislative tells them to. So superficially, we have 3 separate branches of government, but in reality, we do not. Because in the foreclosure department, they are required, under legislative pressure and Supreme Court pressure, to close foreclosure cases at a phenomenal rate. And if they don't, it means their salary. So do we really have 3 separate branches of government at that point? I don't think we do. And so I would love to see the money that the judicial branch needs to come back in and get it out of the general fund. I want it back where it belongs, in their budget. So the clerks of the circuit courts haven't had a raise since 2004. I don't know how they live on the budget. I don't know how they live on, I think it's like $9 an hour or $10 an hour they earn. The clerks in all the courts. The judges are fine. They're $176,000, and Ronnie's also clerk of the court in Duval County. So the major clerks are fine. I'm talking about the clerks that work, and they're the backbone of our judicial system. And I think that's going to go along. And I think that's why we've lost some of our rule of law and our due process rights, because the judges are under so much pressure by the legislative branch to do what they ask them to do and get certain things done, or they don't get paid. So that's going to eroding our court systems, not just in Duval County, not just in St. Johns County, but throughout the state. So that's part of the reason why I'd like to be on the Judiciary Board in the House. I'd like to help the judicial branch not be under so much pressure. I'd like to separate our two branches of government again in reality and have them 3 separate branches.
Was it today or yesterday they ran the story about the toll roads? Today. And how we're all going to toll roads?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Toll roads.
That's for
Am I
you.
loving this editorial review or what?
Go ahead.
First of all, do you all know the toll roads came from the transportation bill in the federal government? All the toll roads in the state of Florida and throughout the United States have already been sold in bonds to China, and they haven't even been built yet. And when Florida took that money to build toll roads, we said yes to whatever they want to do. And that's part of the reason why I say no to federal funds, is because it always comes with strings attached. It's amazing to me when we give it to them in taxes, there's no strings. But when we try to get some of it back, there's always strings attached. So I'm very concerned about toll roads, especially, you know, I'm in the crux between Duval County and St. Johns County with the split between, with the map changing, because I was in 17, I'm in 18, so I was in Duval County, and now I'm in St. Johns County. But point is, I've been active in both counties, and obviously Duval's huge as well. But I understand from the legislature that, and actually from the mayor, that there was a promise never to have toll roads, and they voted to have a 1% tax increase for that promise to never have toll roads. So they're going to be hard pressed for toll roads in Duval County, at least. I don't understand. Again, I'm against toll roads. So just so you know that I don't want toll roads.
But Toll House cookies are good.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. We are going to pay for the toll roads, then we have to pay to go through them. And at what point, if there's a toll road at point A and a toll road at point B, and I'm at point C, I don't have the money for these toll roads, and they put it up, say they decide to put it up to $1,000 every time you go through there, and you can't afford it. What about people who can't afford the toll roads? They can't go from point A to point B, and their family's in point A, and they're in point C, but neither party can afford the toll roads to see one another. We're going to see pockets of things occurring because of that. And our taxes are so great that I'd love to say toll roads are going to help everything, and it's not. I don't see down the road how it's going to help.
How do you feel about expanding our rail system in the state?
Another good question. That's a loaded
You're on
question.
fire.
That's a loaded question because depending on how it's done. I guess it all comes down to depending how it's done. I'm tired of seeing bid contracts going to their best buddy. Rail system, great, but it doesn't have to cost what they say it does. You cut out the crony capitalism, we can do toll roads. And make it affordable. And make it great. And make it kind of like New York. But the way I already see it developing, especially with Rick Scott, it's all special interest groups. It's all his buddies. And it's winding up costing, it's going to wind up costing, and it always costs us. So I'm for them, but if it's done right, take bids from everybody.
You had mentioned a need for adding an industrial area or industrial complex, perhaps somewhere in St. Johns County, and trying to draw interest, of course.
Yeah, I'm thinking Phillips Highway.
Somewhere in the northern or the central section.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas for what you'd like to see brought to
Hemp for water. Marijuana. Lots of marijuana being grown over there. Yes, indeed. Look how much environmental impact. Zero environmental impact. Right? We have to water it, so I'm not really concerned about our water. I want our water to be able to water those plants. I'm teasing, of course, but I'm concerned about water for human consumption. So, of course, if you're going to ask me about fracking, I'm totally against fracking because of the wastewater involved in that.
But you're okay for using water resources to water marijuana?
Reuse the water. There's a way to reuse it, bacterially down, collect rainwater. There's all kinds of wonderful ideas.
But you're against reusing marijuana?
No, I
Not
don't do
use that
marijuana.
for the-
I don't use it, no. Absolutely not. Never used it.
That's fun. You guys have anything else?
No.
We always ask, we're sure that there are good questions and we don't ask. Do you have something that you think you want to tell us? At least she does, so.
I did Wells Fargo.
Oh, okay. I will. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, well, that actually is what started me as a citizen going to Tallahassee, is I was caught up in that foreclosure mess where Wells Fargo, who was never my lender, my original lender, wound up filing a foreclosure action against me illegally. I had made all my payments, cash, Western Union, direct deposit to their bank. And somehow my note got caught up in the mortgage-backed security situation and got sold. And for some reason, the payments didn't follow the note. And I actually was quite surprised because I was not notified by anybody. This is how I was notified. I was served a summons from a police officer at my place of work that I was being sued for foreclosure by Wells Fargo. And I was stunned because I didn't, Wells Fargo at that point, now they're everywhere, but this was back in 2004. Wells Fargo, I knew, was some little wagon bank out in California. We had Wackovias, we didn't have any Wells Fargo here. So I'm thinking, Wells Fargo, oh, this got to be a mistake. Well, long story short, they sued me. It was illegal. I was tied up in court with that first lawsuit from 2000. They actually filed it in 2005. I actually got a dismissal without prejudice in 2011. They turned around and refiled against me in 2013. I won that also. They took a voluntary dismissal on that. But actually, through that, I was able to get the judge to grant me the judgment for the attorney fees. I paid over $50,000 in attorney fees defending this illegal foreclosure, and actually was able to put a lien on the St. Augustine branch and was foreclosing on them. High five, everybody, high five. I was foreclosing on Wells Fargo, the largest bank in the country. Hello.
So were they the ones that kept your money that didn't follow it with the note?
I don't know. I still don't know whatever happened to that money.
Wow.
I still don't know. But I was actually, if you want to go ahead and Google Channel 4 News and Fox 30, they had me on there for foreclosing on Wells Fargo in St. Johns County.
How'd that work out?
They gave me the money. Imagine that.
So you filed on them that in order to get the money, you got the money, then you did it.
I got the judgment. When you get a judgment from the court, I took the judgment and filed the lien. I had to first find where Wells Fargo actually owned property somewhere. And they owned this branch. The one in the major branch downtown, they leased that building. So I couldn't file a lien on that one. I had to file a lien on something they actually owned, or actually file a lien and take out their computers and their phones and everything until it. And I actually got a hold of the sheriff's office and was going to take the sheriff with me and, just start taking stuff out until they paid me my money. But through that News 4 and Fox 30 News, Wells Fargo did contact my attorney, which I had recently retained, and they paid me the money.
So do you have free checking for life at Wells Fargo?
No, they do not like me. I'm actually with a credit
I was
union.
gonna say you don't bank with them, do you?
I don't bank at all. I'm a credit union girl. I'm a credit union girl, and I recommend everybody put your money in a credit union.
Wow. That's quite a story.
But it's certainly Googleable. It's all over. K-Day did a story in the Examiner on it. Times Union did a story on it. There's a lot of stories on it throughout the years, because you think how many years? From 2004 to 2014, and they filed a second lawsuit in 2013. And I'm like, when are you guys going to give up? Here's what's amazing. They have a subservicer, America's Servicing Corp, and America's Servicing Corp apparently got the money. But it's Wells Fargo that's filing the lawsuit, and they continually paid the property taxes and the insurance, even though I was paying it. The right hand did not know what the left hand was doing, and they still don't know. They still, to this day, most of these foreclosure suits, honestly, they don't know what they own, where they own it at, who owns what, who has the note, who has the mortgage. That hasn't changed. In the state of Florida, that has not changed. As a matter of fact, we're growing again as the #1 foreclosure state. They're starting to roll them in again second time around. And we're looking at a second bubble, economy-wise, on that.
Well, based on your experience, does that give you an incentive to want to change, to sponsor legislation to try to change that?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was part of the reason why I started going up to the House, was they were talking about passing something called the Fair Foreclosure Act. And it was called HB 213, and it was introduced by Pasadena down in Naples, and I was highly against it because it should have been called the Unfair Foreclosure Act, because again, it was about the judges pushing through the foreclosures without allowing the defendants to have defense. And I fought that bill for 3 years, and proudly, we in a group of people, we took bus loads of people up there, no to that. And then finally, I think it was 2012, no, it was 2013, HB 87 passed, and that was called, again, the Fair Foreclosure Act. And this time it was tailored more toward title company insurance protection versus banks rushing foreclosures through, although it has still a flavor of that. But they added something that I was happy about. Supposedly they cannot file a foreclosure unless they have a clear chain of title. Not just the note, but the assignment of mortgages that were missing before, because they could not prove they had clear title, even though they, quote, had a copy, a good just facsimile of maybe a blue ink note that they brought to court. There's a lot of fraud going on. So yeah, I know what fraud to look for. I don't know if you know about the Lynn Smanosiak, the robo-signing story that hit 60 Minutes. I was in the background on that story, doing the research in all the counties and pulling up all the documents and sending them to her in boxes. In boxes. All the assignment of mortgage with the bogus Benny and all of the Linda Green bogus signatures and Brian Bly, and I can go on and on and on with that. I spend hours and hours and hours working on that. And yes, I'm a person for the people. I know what people are going through. I know what they're going through on a daily basis. I know what they have to go through and deal with, not only financially, making their payments, raising children, sending them to college, bringing them home. You know, everything. I probably have been through every scenario that a person can go through in terms of the law, in terms of, you know, just life experience itself, and being involved in the community, and being involved in I'll say involved in politics, but just involved in areas of concern that involve politics. But I appreciate the time to come here and share my stories and to share my passion.
We appreciate you
Yeah,
coming.
thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you guys so much. It was nice meeting you.